Characters ranked for spring of 2025, and my oh my, there are a ton of characters in Marvel Strike Force. I want to give a big shout out to everyone that came and liked my last character ranked tier list, which was in January, my most liked video for the entire year. And before we get into this list, I want to draw your attention to two different things. That we're going to start this video off with a tier list that suggests what characters to go to gear tier 20, because that is a big deal right now when it comes to Professor X. Secondly, there is in-game in the roster screen a way of seeing what characters are newly added to the game and what characters have been reworked. So if you hit roster, and then there is a selection up here, and the tab that we're talking about is this middle one here, squads. So if you're just getting started in playing Marvel Strike Force and you're unsure of what characters to upgrade, you can quickly come in here, and these are in order of release. And generally, characters that have been recently released are going to be better than the characters that are on the bottom of the list. This will also include reworked characters. So when I started my new account not that long ago, you know, Captain America, War Machine, Groot, and Rocket were relatively easy to get, and they're reworked characters, and so that means they have boosted stats. So in general, if you're just getting started playing Marvel Strike Force, you can quickly go in game, and this will populate with your characters, and you can know that in most circumstances, not all, characters towards the top of the list are going to do better than the characters at the very bottom of the list. Now, let's get into the tier list, and I kind of want to explain what we're doing here with gear tier 20 before we start the creation of the list. Is right now taking characters to gear tier 20 is going to automatically put a character into the A tier, and so this is a loose list of characters based off of the last video. Link it will be to that video on what I am considering for taking into the Professor X saga. This is going to be a significant amount of resources to make this, and it's a very specific process for getting Professor X. So that is going to be a consideration, and a lot of these characters are newer post-Ares characters, so they are going to serve me well over the long run. Now, what's carrying over right here are some other strong considerations that could be substituted for some of these characters in here. Like if you wanted to take in Hitmonkey instead of Punisher, I could understand that. If you wanted to use Lady Deathstrike, let's say, instead of another Orcus, I can understand that, and so on and so on. The exception to that is going to be Old Man Logan. Old Man Logan may be a good choice for taking to gear tier 20, but he's not going to be helpful in the Professor X saga because of the way of the node that he is required in, or he can be used in, is a Shadow King node where he clones the team you're going in, and he clones your Old Man Logan, and then your team gets wiped out. And the developers have actually omitted the recommendation of Old Man Logan. They removed him from the recommendation of that. Then we're going to talk about characters that are used in multiple game modes. Most of these characters in this B tier, which this is not here, but as we go further down, are going to be post-Ares characters that are used in multiple game modes. C tier is going to be characters that are used in multiple game modes, but they may not be post-Ares characters. Maybe they're pre-Ares characters. Now, when I talk about post-Ares and pre-Ares, what we're talking about is Ares came to the game and it marked a massive stat increases. So characters that came out after Ares have stat increases than the characters that came before Ares. If you're looking inside the game to this little right here, that occurs right where Illuminati is. So if we go through this list right here, we're scrolling. Annihilators was the first team that had post-Ares stats, and Illuminati was the last team of pre-Ares. So anything Illuminati and below will be pre-Ares stats. So keep that in mind. Then we're going to what I call narrow use. Narrow use is going to be situationally good characters that I am using, but I don't think I would suggest for anybody to upgrade. And then lastly, we will have blitz characters. Now, this list right here is not in any order right now, but we're going to start off with S tier. So we're going to be moving some of these characters that are in this A tier up to S tier. We've got Null. Most certainly the reward for Battle World is an S tier character. A lot of the consideration that is going to be made is whether or not they're good in every game mode. Are they plug and play viable? Are they useful in arena? And absolutely Null is in that category. He has some interesting things in his kit that makes him especially good against characters like Mephisto and Apocalypse, who also are going to be on this list. And I think mythical champions in general should be on this list. And, you know, we're going to maybe throw Super Scroll up here. Some of these are falling out sooner than others. Mephisto, though, is a very strong plug and play character, and he is most certainly impactful in every game mode, and he's still seeing use in arena today. And the same is true of Apocalypse. Now, are there counters to these characters? Absolutely. Unlike Professor X, is pretty much a one-man army at this point, and I'm going to give Odin a similar nod as far as where they're at. Now, as we go through this list, they're not going to be in any particular order, but I just want to say this is somewhat in order right now as far as my general feeling towards some of these characters, and then we'll get Super Scroll in here as some other point. Now, as far as other characters that I think are very good plug and play, plus they're also seeing a lot of use inside of the arena, would be in-game Thanos. I think he's going to be a good character for a long time, mostly because of his passive, where if you drop him below 50%, he will do damage to the other team and strip away all their positive effects, that is. And I think even as he gets power creep, that is still going to be a very good mechanic of allowing him to get through Safeguard and drop down the team. He can also do that in his ultimate as well as his passive. I also am a big fan of Gore. Gore is not only a very good member when paired up with the rest of the Annihilators, but as a standalone character, Gore does a lot of interesting things with anti-charge, anti-revive. So I think that's going to be good for a long term. And I feel the same way about Gladiator as a pre-taunting tank. And then also when the three of them are paired up together, prevents things like Vulnerable. And I feel like a lot of the teams that are coming out right now are very good with Vulnerable. Now, I'm going to be adding other characters to the S as we go through this list. Like I don't have Super Scroll handy, but when I get Super Scroll will go up there. And as I'm going through this list, I might be moving characters up and down as well. And I am going to be moving Kahori up there because I love Kahori. Her speed makes her a menace, absolutely. And it is a turn-based game. And so I'm going to favor characters that are extremely fast. And I feel like Kahori is in that category. Now, Kahori is not being used much in arena, where a lot of these other characters I mentioned so far are being used in the arena. I'm still going to put Kahori up there just because I think she is very good. Now, as far as the rest of these characters here, I think these are going to be good choices to take to Gear Tier 20, simply by the fact that they are going to be helpful in getting Professor X. And I'm going to add Hitmonkey to that category, and I'm also going to say Old Man Logan. Old Man Logan is absolutely a character that I want to be taking to Gear Tier 20 sooner than later. Now, Old Man Logan, as far as characters that we've talked about today, is, not a post-Ares character. And I guess technically you could say the same about some of these up here, the mythical, whatever they called. But Old Man Logan's kit is amazing, and he was so incredibly devastating to the game in general when he came out that I feel like he is going to get a nod for a long time. Just his ability to take a bunch of turns and then continuously add revive once to himself whenever he does his special stun, and then trauma, and then claws out. I mean, there's just so many good things, and he is a menace, especially if he takes a turn. Now, I want to talk about the members that I've already put here in the Gear Tier 20 A tier. We're going to have to talk about them individually. Here, right out of the gate, we have Vigilantes. Vigilantes are going to make the list. I do like the Vigilante team in general. They seem to be very good, not only in their specified game mode, which is a raid team, but they're also seeing like they're actually pretty useful inside of Alliance War. They're doing pretty cool things. They can get through some of these. Mephisto teams. I'm thinking that they're better than a lot of them. Now, Electra is a part of that team, and I just want to say that Electra is okay, but I'm going to put Electra into a lower category than those four. These four here are definitely useful, and I'm not going to have a problem taking any one of those four or any three of those four to gear tier 20. Now, Night Stalkers, yes. We got Oath and Blade are definitely the two plug and play, and I'm a big fan of them. When we get to the rest of the Night Stalkers, like Agatha, we're going to be putting them down here. I just think that we've got the three knots, the Night Stalkers, and I think that Man-Thing is super important on this team, and Agatha. So generally, the four-piece can't be broke up. So we're talking about Blade, Oath, Agatha, and Man-Thing. Oath. Not Oath, but Moon Knight is the one that didn't get dropped absolutely down into a B tier. Agatha and Man-Thing, I think the jury's out. I could definitely make a case for them going either way. Then we've got Orcus, and the Orcus team is, of course, a raid team, but they have tremendous value outside of raids, not only in Crucible at Alliance War, so they easily make it up here. Lady Deathstrike can join them up there. I'm just going to put Lady Deathstrike up there with those three. Then we've got the Liberty, which is going to be the four-piece of these right here. The three new ones are quite exceptional. And then Captain America Sam Wilson also adds value with his ultimate, giving turn meter to the team. War Machine is somewhat of the dud on the team, so we're going to put War Machine down there. Then we've got Astral. Now, Astral, I'm going to be, when we get to Astral, I'll be putting Shadow King up here and Dark Strange up here, and then we're going to be putting Moondragon and Ancient One. Those could all be going up here, but I think as for the purpose of this list, there's going to be a lot of post-Ares teams that are good in multiple game modes that are going to be in this B tier. They're just not quite making the fit to go into the immediate gear tier 20 category. But I do think over time they will be getting gear tier 20. So from there, we've got Starjammers. And if I'm being frank, Starjammers, yes, are useful inside of Cosmic Crucible. They've had to have 2 buffs to make them viable. Lilandra is 1000% required for getting Professor X. I'm not sure if I would be putting them here if they weren't a good fit for the Professor X saga. Frankly, I think I would be putting them in this B tier. So the rest of the video, we're going to be pulling characters from below and putting them into their respective area. We've got a very narrow use for Absorbing Man. I'm going to say that I am not generally using Affinity Watch anymore. Agent Venom has a very narrow use on an out-of-time team, but that is so beyond narrow that I'm not going to even put them there. I'm going to put them in the Blitz category. All minions will be going into the Blitz category for sure. So then we've also got narrow use right here. Gamma most certainly is on their way out. I could not in good conscience recommend anybody upgrade them. Ancient One absolutely is a very good character. Not only Agatha and Ancient One will be going up into this A tier gear tier 20, probably sooner than later. I'm going to be inclined to take them up there earlier than a lot of these other characters right here. Like if I'm just shuffling them around in no particular order. I'm not getting any use out of this guy. I think some people could make a case for a narrow use, but I am not. We're going to be putting him in Blitz. Same thing with Anti-Venom, Archangel, not great. Now, Ares. Ares is an interesting character. I would like Ares a lot more if he was faster. Definitely is a good character inside of Alliance War with his passive. He does get use inside of Crucible because of his spawn ability, prevents safeguard on spawn. If I'm being honest, this character could be dropped down to C tier, but because he's Ares, he was the first character with the post Ares stats. We're gonna put him in B tier, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got dropped down I'm just finding that he is so incredibly slow. Zemo is very limited use. Beast, without a doubt, is a very good character on his team. We're going to have to put all the Bifrost down here. I feel like Bishop is in narrow use or in C tier. So he is being used in this guy. I'm going to put some of the extreme in here in the C tier, but Bishop is very narrow, one-off, single case use. Like I said, I would not be recommending him in multiple game modes. Now, this is where we're going to have an interesting conversation where we're going to have very good pre-Ares teams. Are they going to be C tier or B tier? And that's largely going to be determined if they have plug and play viability, where Black Bolt doesn't really have the plug and play viability like Captain Britain does. So Captain Britain, even though this is a pre-Ares team, they are very strong, and I'm getting a ton of use out of the Illuminati team without a doubt. For that reason, I'm going to be putting Captain Britain up here. Plus, Captain Britain's passive is going to make him long-term viable inside of Cosmic Crucible. All right, so here's a tough one right here. Black Cat. Now, Black Cat is, I'm not using Black Cat as much as I once did. She does have a lot of things in her kit that I very much like. The most important thing I think about Black Cat, which is going to make her useful as a plug and play character for some time, is that on spawn, she has the ability to revive once, but I'm just not using her as much as I once did. I think in my last video, I would easily put her up in a higher tier, but for now, we're going to put her there. The jury is definitely out. That is open for consideration. Now, a Black Knight, oh boy. Black Knight is so good. I'm almost tempted to put Black Knight in this A tier. I really am. Black Knight has seen a revival in so many different places, and I'm finding that Black Knight is that one character that you can throw on a random team inside a Crucible or Alliance War. I've even seen Black Knight sometimes show up in my arena shard. So this is an interesting way of looking at it. I may revisit this, but this may be one of the few characters that is, like Old Man Logan, that he is, pre-Ares stats that might be in this higher tier, and I might consider taking to gear tier 20 sooner than later. And also, part of the thing about the way that Overpowered works is that Overpowered favors characters that go early, and it also favors characters that can do attacks out of turn, which Black Knight absolutely does that, because he's basically effectively doing his passive counterattack all the time. And I feel like a gear tier 20 Black Knight would be quite menacing and would be a strong consideration for taking to gear tier 20. Wakanda, I'm so sorry. Not gonna bite. Now, Shuri absolutely has value. I do like Shuri better than Black Bolt for sure. I'm just reluctant at this time. Well, let's put him up here. I'm gonna put up there. Illuminati is so good. All right, not some of these characters I'm not gonna even flinch over, right? Because they're just so bad. So like we're gonna be putting a lot of these characters. I'm just gonna put all the ones in here now that I'm not using at all. So Cable got a rework. Not only did he get a rework, but I think he has something in his kit that'll make him useful as a plug and play character. I feel like a lot of his teammates will be in the B tier, but because of the passive on him, where it has like the turn meter manipulation and he has post-Ares stat, I think he's going to hang out for a long time. And there's a couple characters that have that, like Oath has something similar. So does Cable also. We were using Cable before he got reworked. He was definitely in this narrow use category, but just for his passive. So I think that's going to continue being an important thing long term. All right, we've got a narrow use right here inside of War. Oh, Hive Mind. All right, so Hive Mind is kind of interesting. I think if pre-null, I would have put them in the narrow use. They're still getting use inside of raids today, but Null on some level revitalized them. They also are quite menacing once the turn meter gets going, and I think that paired up with Null in certain situations, and we're talking like Alliance War, once they get that turn meter advantage, they just go. And going early and going quicker than your opponent offsets a lot of the situations that have been occurring with overpowered. Oh boy, this just breaks my heart. Narrow use. These guys were quite useful inside of Crucible, but it's just not going to be a thing anymore. I feel like a lot of these teams and right here are going to be pushed out because of overpowered. All right, we're kind of got some garbage characters. Now, this would be a narrow use character, but I think Cosmic Ghost Rider is going to have plug and play viability in war for a long time. We're going to put Cosmo down here. I just feel like a lot of these narrow use teams are well, let's see here. I just don't want people upgrading these characters. I mean, I know that I could make a case that they're useful in one game mode and this and that. I'm just reluctant to put any of them there because they're gonna get pushed out because of overpowered, and I just can't in good conscience make a lot of a big case to upgrade these characters. And it just breaks my heart that these characters that are so good in one game mode and they were useful, it's not going to happen. All right, Dakin with Mercs for Money absolutely is a pre-Ares character, but Mercs for Money is still going to get some use. I'm going to put that in the C tier. Daredevil, nope. All right, we've got some easy ones here just to throw up here, and then we've got his buddy Deadpool. All right, so we're going to skip past a lot of these not useful characters. Doc Ock is going to see a lot of use in multiple game modes, and a lot of these C tiers are going to be what I consider the very good pre-Ares teams that are getting use in multiple places, but I'm reluctant to put a lot of resources into them given what's happening with the game. Doctor Strange easily makes it up to this A tier. Let's keep going. No use. Boy, now we're going to have to think. Where do we put Doom? I'm going to have to put Doom in the C tier. I just can't do it. Dormammu. Boy, again, can I justify putting Dormammu? I feel like Dormammu is a plug and play character, situationally useful to boost the team with the revive once passive. However, I feel like there's a million counters to Dormammu, and both Dormammu and Doom can just be deleted with raw power at this time. Drax, nope. Okay, Echo gets some limited use, narrow use, and with her anti counterattack. She's useful, let's say, in Crucible, kind of like as a preventative Odin measure, but no, don't put stats into him. I feel like Emma still has that kind of functionality where her passive can be useful sometimes, but I would not recommend putting stats. Okay, Falcon. Falcon's going to be up here in the B tier. I think he's definitely useful, gets used in a couple different places, but I'm not sure if I would be taking him to gear tier 20 right away. All right, Boo. All right, so Extreme are going to be in my C tier. They're still useful in a lot of different game modes. However, they definitely are on their way out, and they are a part of the pre-Ares stat team. All right, so Ghost is a little bit of an uncertainty. The reason why Ghost is a little bit of uncertainty, but we're going to put her in the B tier, is because she's going to be a part of the Thunderbolts team. Right now in game, she does not have the stats. But what I mean by that, like right now, if we go in game, at some point, and I don't know, maybe next week sometime or whenever this video is posted, the Thunderbolts team will appear here, and Ghost and Taskmaster will be above the Vigilantes team with the Thunderbolt counterparts. So that's how this list gets updated, and they will be there. And so that's kind of how this list is kept current, and that's why I think that's a good resource, is right here. The Thunderbolt's team will populate when they start coming to the game. We're going to have Victoria Hand coming to the game next week, and then Ghost and Taskmaster. We'll see reworks to go on that team. Let's keep going. Oh boy, trash. Oh boy. I feel like that we're not getting use of Secret Defenders much anymore, and boy, they're on their way out. I think we're going to still see some use out of Spider Society. I think Spider Society is going to be useful for a little bit longer, but I can't justify putting her in the post-Ares slot with characters like Ancient One. All right, not good. Boy, this guy's got narrow use on his way out. Green Goblin for sure is useful. It kills me that I'm not putting Green Goblin up here. I just don't know. Oh boy, that's a tough one. Because I don't know how plug and play viable Green Goblin's going to be, like in the same way that Captain Britain is. But he's definitely better than his rest of his Sinister Six. Boy, I think for right now I'm going to put Shuri back down there, and then we will come back to that. I'm comfortable putting Captain Britain up there just because of his passive, for sure. All right, here's a character that we'll see used for a little bit while just because of his passive. So we're going to put him up here in this C tier. Offense up on spawn is pretty good. All right, Spider-Gwen might see some use with Null, but we'll have to see. Still getting use out of them inside of raids, but that could fall off. Boy, only one game mode and limited use. Hand, nope, not going to happen. Go. All right, Hank Pym, a part of Illuminati for sure, will be useful. So we're going to put you up there next to your friends. Now we got Havoc. Looks like we got a duplicate Havoc right there. Let's put him at the very bottom because we got Havoc on there twice. So we'll just drop him down to the bottom. That may happen. We might have some duplicate characters in here for sure. Now, I hope I didn't get the Doctor Stranges mixed up. There was another Doctor Strange. Oh, did I get them mixed up? I did, right? Let's see here. This is the OG Doctor Strange, and this is the Heartless Doctor Strange. The Heartless Doctor Strange is not being used. I'm not 100% sure which icon lines up, but this is what I mean on this list is this is the OG Doctor Strange is definitely up here, and the Heartless Doctor Strange, unfortunately, is in the trash category. Boy. All right, so here's an interesting one. Hela, probably will be useful for a longer period of time than I expect other characters because of her involvement with the Undying team. So Undying is going to be an important team for a longer term. It seems like that they are being updated as a character comes out on an annual basis. So every Halloween, every October, they bring a new Undying to the game, and that has kept the team current. So I'm going to put the entire Undying team into that category because I do think that if you chose to put resources into him today, that might be a okay thing as time goes on. All right, Hercules. Boy, all right, we're going to put Hercules up here in that same category. And then we've got Howard the Duck again. We got duplicate Howard the Duck and duplicate Havoc. All right, down to the bottom. Unfortunately, Hulk has seen better days, narrow use. Hulkbuster, not so much. All right. They certainly hinted at Human Torch being reworked in one of their dev videos. So we're just going to put that there for now. But right now, not useful at all. But I wouldn't be surprised with the Fantastic Four movie. Maybe there'll be something exciting about that. Boy, this is an interesting one. We're very narrowly using Cersei and Icarus. I'm not even sure if I use them on a weekly basis. Invisible Woman, yeah, absolutely. We're going to put Invisible Woman up here with some of her friends in the B tier. All right, let's keep going. All right, we've got both Iron Fists. Boy, we've got... all of this is not seeing much of a use. I'm not even using Iron Man at all anymore. Patriot. Okay, so this is part of the Cabal team. And I kind of feel like the Cabal team in the same way that I do as Illuminati. Some of these characters right here might be more useful than these ones down here. I actually expect Cabal to be pretty good because they're pretty fast. Well, they're not really fast. The synergy they have with villains and specifically leader is kind of interesting, and that might be useful longer than one would suspect. All right, JJ still has limited use inside of Alliance War. Jubilee not so much. Nope. All right, Kang I think is going to be in this C tier again, pre-Ares stat, but his passive makes him important, and he still does some fun things specifically with the Cabal team. Absolutely. Boy, kind of makes me sad, all these characters that are not seeing use. Now, Kestrel. Kestrel's kind of like Black Cat in a lot of ways. I don't know where to put Kestrel. I feel like Kestrel's in that narrow use. I'm just not using her that much. She does have an anti-summon mechanic. I kind of hope that, yeah. I think Kestrel is going up with the zombie team. All right. Did I put Ironheart in the wrong place? I think I put Ironheart in the wrong place. Where did I put Ironheart? Did I put Ironheart in the wrong place? It's the wrong Ironheart. Oh, we'll come back and look at that towards the end of the video. All right. Kingpin up here. Kitty, nope. Korath, Org sometimes. That goes up there. Second row bottom. Did I put her? I put Ironheart in the wrong place. Yeah, all right. She definitely gets used in absolute A4, so she's gonna go up there. My mistake. Let's keep going. Boy, look at all these Krees. All right, so we've got Leader. Leader's going to go up there with his friends into the C tier. Lilandra is already on the list, so this is a duplicate. Put you down there. Lizard's going to be up with his friends. Green Goblin and Doc Ock and all of that. Loki might have some narrow use with Kahori because of the passive, although in general I think he should be in the Blitz category. Teen Loki, not useful. Boy, a lot of these guys have seen better days. It's just kind of sad to like throw these characters in the Blitz category after all this time. Magneto for sure, one of my favorite characters way back in the day. Man-Thing. All right, Man-Thing's gonna go up here towards the top. We're gonna put Man-Thing up here in the B tier. I do think Man-Thing could be considered up here with his friends. Yeah, let's put him up there. I like Night Stalkers a lot. And that's just my thing. I like them a lot. I think they're great. Boy, a lot of these characters did not get good use. Let's see. We're going to put you there. What do we want to do here? I think we're going to put you right there. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see here. Boy, look at all these characters that don't see any use. We still see some use right here of you inside of War. Let's keep going. Yeah, we're gonna drop Man-Thing down. Okay, I gotta make the decision. Moondragon is gonna be B tier just because of her involvement with Astral. Same thing with Moon Knight. Moon Knight is gonna be B tier just because of his involvement with the Night Stalkers. C tier is pretty much just gonna be like multi-use, but pre-Ares, whether or not they're useful or not. I don't know that I'm using her much anymore, but for kicks and giggles, we'll put there. Boy, Morgan Le Fay seeing some use, and then we also get some use of Mr. Fantastic. I don't think Mr. Fantastic is nearly as useful as these other ones right here, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Mr. Negative still has some use in War. Mr. Sinister seen better days. We might get some use there out of Secret Defenders. All right, so Ms. Marvel absolutely is a monster and is absolutely scary. We'll put that right there for now. I think Ms. Marvel Classic could be a consideration for Gear Tier 20 at some point. All right, we're going to put you up here, and then we're going to drop you down. You are the wrong Ms. Marvel. We want the hard light one up here and the other Ms. Marvel in the dumpster. We will make a revision when we get to the end. I'm sure there's some characters I put in the wrong place, but we're just going to throw them all up here for now. We've got Mysterio is for sure getting used with their Sinister Six friends. Nope. Namor is getting used. Let's put Namor up there with his Cabal friends. All right, there we go. Nebula, no more. Ned Sonic, no. Boy, Nico's used sometimes in War. Nightcrawler. Okay, Nightcrawler's an interesting one. Like, Nightcrawler could be one of these characters that makes the exception to go up here in the B tier. I feel like both Green Goblin and Nightcrawler could be up a little bit higher, but I'm just worried about the thing about Nightcrawler that I think Nightcrawler's always going to be useful is his ability to go early in the match and speed up other mutants. I really think he's going to be useful longer than even Green Goblin. All right, garbage. Boy, this guy gets used right here. Let's put him up there for his anti-revive. He's super useful in raids and also still very useful in Alliance War. Nova. Boy, Nova is not that useful outside of Alliance War right now. Okoye. Omega Red, I guess, can be used with Weapon X a little bit. Pandapool, absolutely useful. Let's put Pandapool up with his friends up here. We've got, Daken and Deadpool. Let's keep that going. Oh, Spider Society was so good for so long, but I think they're getting pushed out. I don't even know how much longer they're going to be useful in raids. I know a lot of people want to use them inside of the Professor X saga, but that's just not realistic. All right, Omega Red Phoenix Force. I feel that the same way about Phoenix Force as I do with the Undying, because their usefulness as far as Undying goes inside of Alliance War. Not only Omega Red Phoenix Force and Jean Grey Dark Phoenix are going to be useful for a long time. I think they could be, I know Omega Red could make this Gear Tier 20 up here because he's so useful. I think whether or not I took him to Gear Tier 20 be largely dependent on the amount of stars that I have on him. Photon still gets some use. Nope. Polaris has been reworked and is very useful. And we're going to put her up here in the B tier. All right. Proxima, not so much use. Boy, look at all these guys. They're not going to go anywhere. Quake used to be one of the best characters of the game when the game first came out. Quicksilver, I'm gonna put you up there. You still plug and play viability at times, but stats are pushing a lot of these older characters out. All right, we're gonna put you up there with Hive Mind because of Null. Red Guardian, no. Boy, Red Hulk. I'm going to put Red Hulk in the C tier just because of his synergy with Apocalypse, but in reality, he's probably narrow use. All right. Nope. Boy, Rogue has just fallen off. We're going to put her with the Extreme. She definitely gets used with Gambit and Forge. All right. We can use you in War on your team. Let's see, where is Tigra and friends? I don't see them, but they are definitely used inside of War with Coulson. There's Coulson. I'll just put you there. All right, Sabretooth. Ah, man, I'm not using Sabretooth. I guess we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Sasquatch. Okay, yeah, Sasquatch gets used as a pre-taunting tank. I like him. Scarlet Witch got reworked. And she's not over the top, but she's definitely seeing use. So I'm going to put her up there in the B tier. No. We're going to put you next to Icarus. Right there. And then Shadow King. Yeah, Shadow King is good. I'm going to put Shadow King all the way up here in this Gear Tier 20. I might want to put Shadow King in S tier. I'm going to put Shadow King there. I think this guy is better than I thought, just with his pings. seems pretty useful. I've been able to use him in arena. Anyways, he's on the edge, but I'm going to put Shadow King. Too bad that there wasn't really a spot for him that I could find to use him in the Professor X saga, but I do like him quite a bit. Boom, boom, She-Hulk, my goodness, single use. All right, let's see. We're going to get this coming over here. Oh boy. Shocker, I use sometimes. Shuri. No. Sometimes in war. Silver Surfer. Yeah, Silver Surfer is... I'm going to put Silver Surfer in the C tier. Yeah, he's... post Ares, but I just don't use him that much. I think I'm going to move Moon Knight down here too. I got to think about where I'm using these characters, and sometimes I'm not. I'm pulling them out. I almost want to pull Ares out of that and put Ares down there, but I'll do that for now. I know Moon Knight I put up there, but I'm going to drop Moon Knight down for now. Oh boy, this is killing me. There might be some limited use. Boy, I just don't use him very often. Noir for sure is still being used. We put Noir up there with his Spider Society friends. Pav for sure. Pav might be useful longer than a lot of other characters because he's fast. Spider Slayer for sure is used up here with his Spider Sinister Six friends. I'll just put you up here with like Doc Ock and all those guys. Tangled Web, not so much 2099, but I'm definitely getting use out of Weaver. Weaver saved me today in Crucible. Well, I still lost, but still got use out of Weaver today. We're gonna put Starbrand up there with his Out of Time friends, and then we've got right there is with A-Force in War. Nope. Oh boy, this guy's barely used right there. All right, so I am going to refine my list here in a minute, and we will put Storm up there at the top B tier. Sunfire is still seeing some use, like limited use. Sunspot limited use. Super Scroll. Now Super Scroll is an interesting one. I think Super Scroll is not dead. There are a million counters to him. Also, because of the way that his kit works, I think he could be particularly impactful at gear tier 20 on offense. Just because he can do a lot of damage and get a lot of turn meter, as long as you're not going into a match that has some sort of anti-turn meter gain. So I do like Super Scroll. We're going to put him up there. I think Super Scroll, being that he could potentially be very fast, could see a revival. All right, I'm going to throw a lot of the unuseful characters here that I'm not getting use in anywhere at this time. Boy, let's see here. No. A lot of these I am getting some use with, but I'm just kind of putting, well, I kind of get use out of her sometimes. Not White Tiger, no. Yelena, boy, they kind of did some of the Thunderbolts dirty, in my opinion, by not doing anything with them with the movie. All right, so Void Knight is getting used, like I said, mostly because of Null. Taskmaster is going to be reworked, so I'm going to put Taskmaster up here with Ghost, hoping that that team will be good. This is a one use limited team in Alliance War. These are Alliance War. Oh boy, Tigra sometimes gets used with Kang. Ultimus, super useful. I really like Ultimus. We're gonna put Ultimus up here at the A tier. Also, he might be a character that benefits a lot from Overpowered because he potentially can go early in the match if the other team is getting taunt, and then having him delete people, which is having 50% attack, would be very useful on a character like Ultimus. Ultron, nope, not using you. Venom, I'm not really using you, even because of Null. Vision does get used. Let's put Vision up here. Vision's not great, but Vision is getting used up there. Vulture is going to be in the B tier. We're going to put, or the C tier rather, with his Sinister Six friends. All right, what do we got now? Wasp definitely is going to be used with A-Force. I'm going to put you way up here with these gals up here. Wolverine, I don't even know if I'm using Wolverine. Wong, I'm not using Wong. X-23 sometimes in War. Okay, I'm going to take a minute and revise my list.
Meanwhile.
All right, I got to make some modifications to the list. With a little bit of consideration, I think that we can move Gore and Gladiator down. I think they're as good as like Oath and Blade. I get that. That's fine. And then also, I'm not really feeling Cable after I put him there. I think that could be dropped down. And then I'm having some debate whether or not Ancient One and Doctor Strange should be here. I feel like they're both kind of good, but I'm not really sure if they want to go up there or not. I really do like Ancient One. I really do like Doctor Strange. Other thing too, I really think Ultimus is going to be very good with Overpowered. I also think that Black Knight is going to be very good with Overpowered. Then also, I'm thinking about some of these characters. Like, I do like Wasp, but Ironheart, yeah, no. And then I could probably make a case to drop these three right here. You know, Ares, Scarlet Witch, and Vision down. I'm going to leave them for right now, but that is certainly a consideration. I also am a little bit torn about not only, here in this C list, going back up to B would be the Cable, the Cabal team, and then also the remaining members of Illuminati. I think that's worth talking about. And then here, I don't even know if Doom and Dormammu should be in the C tier. I think I could probably drop them down to the narrow use category. A couple things that need to come up from the Blitz. Wolverine should definitely be up here, and so should Captain America. So those two, Captain America is definitely still used for Out of Time. And then not included in here was Omega Red Phoenix Force. And I think this guy could be all the way up here into A tier. And I think, you can come to your own determination of whether or not you would want him to be an A or a B tier. I think that would mostly depend upon whether or not you were going to use him in the Professor X saga, or if you have high yellow stars on him. I mean, if you don't have high yellow stars on him, I don't know if I would upgrade him. Other thing too, I think he's going to be long-term viable because they're going to be on a team that is going to develop over time in the same way that the Undying team has. So this is a team that's going to expand. Like, there's going to be a new character introduced a year from now, and then maybe one a year from then, and so on and so on. So I think that is worth considering. Now, I also removed the Professor X Gear 20 from this because essentially this list does consider that, but I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea, specifically with a character like Old Man Logan, because Old Man Logan has proved to be not great inside the Professor X saga. So I just don't want this to be like, wow, Mobile Gamer said, take Old Man Logan to Gear Tier 20, Professor X. So I got rid of that. This is just more of a list that will feature, if I was going to start upgrading characters once I have Professor X or something like that, this might be a good starting place what to do. And I believe there is a ton of exceptions to the rule. If there's something here on the list that doesn't quite sit well with you and think it should be more than welcome to put it down there in the comment section. And also, highly recommend referring back to this right here. If you just want quick access in game to what teams have been introduced recently and the characters that are accompany them that are reworked.
20 minutes later.
All right, a couple revisions. Postscript. I think you're good to go if you want to take him to 20. I'm hearing he's quite amazing inside of the Professor X saga. Also, Black Knight's damage is based off of his health, not damage. So he doesn't get any benefit to Overpowered, because Overpowered is 50% extra damage, where the damage that the Retaliate on Black Knight does is based off of his max health. So I'm going to drop him down to a B tier. Hopefully this is the last revision. We might have another one. We'll see.